Hey lovelies, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad to have you here, and if this is your first time on this channel, you're absolutely welcome. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and also the notification bell so you don't miss any of my content. And in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this stylish and timeless dress. It has a 3-tiered layered gathers, alright, and it also has button placket and bishop's collar. It's very easy to make, and without further ado, let's get started. And to get started, guys, this is the African print material that we're going to use for this tutorial, and for this project I use 3.5 yards. And right now the next thing to do is to work on the upper piece from the shoulder to the waistline, and here I've gone ahead to cut out the piece for both the front piece, as you can see right here, and also the back piece. And in order to know the amount of fabrics to cut out, all I did was just to go ahead and divide the biggest part of my upper body, which is actually my bust. All right, I divided it by 4 and that gave me 10, and I added 2 inches for seam allowance. All right, and that gave me 12. All right, so for the front piece I cut out 12, but remember that it unfold. Okay, and for the back piece I simply added extra 2 inches for zip allowance. Okay, and for the length I cut out from my shoulder to my waist, and I added extra allowance to the top, all right here, and also extra seam allowance or joining allowance, to the bottom part here. And right now the next thing to do is to go ahead and indicate the vertical lines starting from the chest line. And having done that, I went ahead to also indicate my bust point, and the next line to indicate is the waistline, and the excess that is left is for the joining allowance. And the next thing to do is to come to the start line here, which is also the shoulder line, and we're going to get our shoulder measurement, and for this project I'm going to be using 7.5. Then I'll come down from that point by 1 inch. And all the measurement I'm taking is starting from the front piece here, right? And the next thing to do right now is just to go ahead and create our neckline. And for the neckline, I'm just going to be using the width of 3 inches. And also for the back, I will use the width of 1.5. You can use 1 inch since there's going to be a collar there, right? So I'm just going to connect the point, and I'm also going to create neckline for the front, and here I use the depth of 3 inches. All right, that's 3 inches by 3 inches. Okay, so here we have both the neckline for the back and the front, and the next thing to do is just to connect from the neckline to the 1 inch, all right, in order to create our shoulder slant. And up next, I'll come to the chest line and indicate 7.5 inches, just like we did for the shoulder line. Then I'll connect the point together on a straight line like so. And having done that, I'll just go ahead and get the midpoint of this line using my tape measure, all right, and I will indicate the midpoint like so. All right, and the next thing to do is just to come here again, and we're going to measure out our bust circumference divided by 4. All right, in this case it is 10. I added 2 inches for seam allowance. Okay, and right now the next thing I'll do is just to go ahead and create the armhole curve. And having done that, I'll come to the waistline here, and I'm going to get my waist circumference divided by 4, and I'm going to also add seam allowance and also allowance for that. Okay, then I indicated that. Then I'm going to link from the chest line to the waist like so. Having done that, I'll come to the shoulder line here, and I'm going to add 1/2 inch joining allowance right here. Okay, and right now the next thing to do is just to go ahead and cut out the pattern. And right here we have both the front piece and the back piece. Okay, and right here on the front piece, I'm just going to go ahead and take out a little bit from the armhole. All right, and having done that, I'll also go ahead and cut out the neckline. And since we are going to be adding a placket to the front, I'm also going to cut it open. And having done that, I'll place the front piece aside and I'll work on the back piece. And right here on the back piece, I'll just come here and I'll come upward by 1 inch. All right. And I'm just going to indicate like so. And right from the points where I indicated, I'm just going to slant it towards the side like so. Okay. And having done that, we're going to go ahead and cut that out. And having done that, the next thing I'll do is to close the back by pinning the zipper allowance. For this project, I will not be adding any lining to the upper part, but you can, okay? All right, so the next thing I'll do right now is just to go ahead and align the front and the back, right side facing right side, and we are going to go ahead and join at the shoulder, all right, and also taking the side seam. And I also go ahead and take in the dart. And right here, guys, that's exactly what I've done. I've gone ahead to join the shoulders, take in the dart, and also stitch the side seam. And right now, the next thing to do is just to go ahead and create our placket for the front. And to do this, I've gone ahead to cut out these 2 stripes, okay? And the width of the stripe is 3 inches. And the next thing to do is to go ahead and iron 1/2 inch on both sides of the stripe like so, okay? And having done that, we're going to fold it into 2, okay? So go ahead and use your iron to do this. And right here, guys, this is what our placket looks like after folding it. And in order to stitch the placket to the dress, you can go ahead and pick one side of the front piece, then you sandwich it in between the button placket, okay? And another method is to stitch the placket to the wrong side of the front piece like so, all right? And having stitched to the wrong side, we're going to flip it to the right side and also top stitch it, all right? I'll be going with the second method and I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. And right here, guys, after stitching the placket, this is what it looks like, okay? And at this point, you might want to go ahead and retake your measurement again around the bust and also the waist area. Because of the button placket that we just added, this might add extra inches to the dress, okay? So I suggest that you add the placket first before taking the side seam, okay? And right here, I overlap the button placket and I'm pinning it down. And after pinning close the front piece, we are going to come to the back piece, all right? And we are going to align right side facing right side, okay? And we are going to, measure about 2 inches downward, and I'm going to be stitching it close, all right? And right here, guys, that's exactly what I've done. And right now, I'll just go ahead and close the remaining part of the zipper allowance, okay? And after doing that, I'm just going to come to the neckline and I'm going to measure what we have around the neckline so that we can cut our collar. And for the round neckline, I have 21 inches. And in order to cut out the collar, I have this long stripe right here. And the first thing I'll do is to fold it equally into 2 like so. All right. And having done that, I'll fold it again like so. And right now, the next thing to do is to indicate the round neckline, which is 21 inches. And because this pattern is on fold, I have 10.5 inches indicated right here. And I'll just extend the point on the straight line like so. And right now, I'll place my tape rule like so. And the next thing to do is to indicate the length of the collar, right? And for this project, I'll be using 1.5 inches. And I'll just go ahead and mark this 1.5 inches all through the collar. And up next, I'll just come to this point here and I'll just curve this corner right here, okay? And right now, just go ahead and cut out the collar. And right here on this end, I'll just add about 1/2 inch there. And right here, when you open up the collar, this is what it looks like. And right now, the next thing to do is just to go ahead and fold both ends of the collar using your iron, your pressing iron, okay? And after ironing both ends, we are going to go ahead and stitch close this curvy part of the collar. And right here, that's exactly what I've done, and this is what our collar is looking like at the moment. And the next thing to do is to attach the collar to the neckline. And to do this, I'm going to pick one end of the collar and I'm going to attach it to the wrong side of the neckline, all right? And after doing that, I'm going to flip it to the right side, then top stitch on it. And right here, guys, I've gone ahead to install the collar on the dress, okay? And right now we can just place this aside and we can work on the lower part. And the lower part of the dress is 3 layered, all right? And to get started, what we need to do is to get the length of the lower part. And to do this, we are going to remove the half length from the gown length. And in this case, the shoulder to the waistline, which is the half length, is 16 inches, and we are going to remove it from the length of 40 inches, and what we are going to have left is 24 inches, all right, meaning that the lower part is 24 inches long, okay? And right now, since we have 24 inches, we are going to divide it by 3, all right, since we have 3 steps, okay? So whatever value we get is going to be the length of each of the layers, okay? And 24 divided by 3 gave me 8, all right? So each of these layers is going to be 8 inches long. And right now we're going to be adding allowance to each of the layers, starting from the first layer, right? And for the first layer we have 8 inches for the length, okay? And we are going to be adding 0.5 inches for joining allowance, all right? We're going to be using it to join to the waist area, okay? And another allowance we are going to add is hemming allowance to fold the down part, all right? So I added 1 inch for hemming allowance, and when you add all this together, we are going to have 9.5, okay? So meaning that when I want to cut the upper part, that first step, I'm going to cut 9.5 inches for the length. And for the second step, we also have 8 inches for the length. We're also going to be adding 0.5 inches to stitch it down, all right? And also another allowance we're going to add is 1 inch folding allowance, all right? Then we are going to be adding 2 inches extra, and this 2 inches is for the overlap allowance. And when you add all this together, we're going to have 11.5. And for the third layer, we're also going to have something identical to that of the second, all right? We have the length of 8 inches. We're also going to add 0.5 inches for stitching allowance. We're also going to add 1 inch for folding the hem, okay? And also, we're going to add extra 2 inches overlap allowance, all right, just like we have it on the second layer, okay? So this is what each of the length is going to be. For the second layer we have 11.5, third layer we also have 11.5. So right here we have the length for each of the layers, okay? And right now we can go ahead and calculate how wide we want each of the layers to be. And to do this, we need our waist circumference. And for this project, we are using the waist circumference of 33 inches, all right? And I'm going to multiply it by 2, okay? And whatever value I have is what we are going to use for the width of the layer, right? And that is 66 inches. And for the second layer, we're also going to multiply the waist circumference by 2.5 inches, okay? And that is going to give us 82.5 inches, okay? And for the third layer, we're also going to multiply our waist circumference by 3, and that is going to give us 99 inches, okay? So depending on how much fabrics you have, you can do more than this if you want it very voluminous, all right? But I will recommend for a plus size person not to overdo it, okay? So that the gathers will not look too bulky around the waist and lose its, you know, curviness and all that, all right? And after the calculations, I've gone ahead to cut out each of the layers using the calculations we made earlier on, all right? So in essence, the first layer is 66 by 9.5. The second layer is 82.5 by 11.5, while the third layer is 99 by 11.5 inches, just as we calculated. And right now the next thing to do is to fold the bottom part of each of the layers. And having done that, the next thing to do is to go ahead and get a lining piece where we are going to be stitching the layers on. All right. And for the dimension of the lining piece, it is 53 inches by 20 inches. I added 20 inches to my waist circumference to get how wide I want it to be. You can do more than this, all right? And for the length, I remove 4 inches from the 24 inches length that we are working with. That is why we have 20 inches, all right? So we are going to determine where each of the layer is going to be on the lining piece, and right here this is the first layer, okay? And I'll just get where the first layer ends. I'll use my chalk to indicate that right here, all right? And right on the point where the first layer ends, I'm going to go upward by 2 inches like so, okay? And this 2 inches, that is where the second layer is going to start. We already know that the first layer is going to be on the waistline, okay? And so right here, this is where the second layer is going to be, all right? And I'll just draw a straight line across the lining like so. So if we attach the first layer to the waist, it means that the second layer will start from this line that we indicated right here, okay? And the first layer is going to overlap it. That's why we had a 2 inches overlap allowance earlier, okay? And right now, in order to get where the third layer is going to start from, I'm going to indicate where the second layer ends like so, okay? And I'm going to go upward by 2 inches, okay? And on this 2 inches point, that is where the third layer is going to be fixed, okay? So I'm going to indicate this all around the lining, okay? And I'll just go ahead and extend the line so that it serves as guide when I'm pleating, okay? And right now the next thing to do is just to go ahead and pleat the layers on the lining. And that's exactly what I've done. I've gone ahead to pleat the third layer and the second layer on the lining piece, as you can see right here. And the first layer, I went ahead to pleat directly to the half length, as you can see right here, okay? And the next thing to do is just to go ahead and attach the upper part and the lower part together. I'm going to go ahead and pleat this lining to the half length, all right? And right here, that's exactly what I've done. I've gone ahead to stitch the lower part and the upper part together, and I'll just go ahead and flip it to the right side. And right about now, this is what our dress looks like. And here on the back, I've gone ahead to close it, leaving opening for zipper allowance, all right? And the next thing we're going to do is just to go ahead and install our zipper to the back piece right here. And also we are going to pipe the armhole area. And right here, guys, that's exactly what I've done. I've gone ahead to finish the armhole area, as you can see. And also for the zipper, I've gone ahead to install the zipper right here, okay? And for the placket that we have at the upper part here, you can either create buttonhole on it, or you go ahead and stitch it close just like I did, okay? I came down with 4 inches and I top stitch on the rest of the placket. And right now our dress is ready. You can go ahead and add buttons to it if you want. Thank you for watching to the end. Please give it a thumbs up if you find it helpful, and I'll see you in my next tutorial.